fitness of probationary employees in 1,000 wildly diverse job classes. But the fact is, probationary ratings based on this form, on P-28, are not valid, they're not reliable, they're probably indefensible in court, and they're sometimes not fair. They facilitate two forms of selection error: inappropriate removals and unwarranted retentions. You wonder sometimes how people pass probation. You look at their performance and you wonder how they pass probation. That's especially true when you look at the first-line supervisors. The city has not found a good way to require supervisors to prove, to demonstrate their fitness. And so chances are they pass. 99% of all the people who take the test and get appointed pass probation. They become permanent employees, and they gain property rights to their jobs. Now, I'm not knocking employees. What I'm suggesting is that city management is at fault. City management is betraying the interests of the public by not providing effective tests for supervisors, by not building stronger first-line supervisory corps. The use of this form cripples two major components of human resource management. It absolutely destroys employee selection. Employee selection. And in the civil service, the probationary period was designed specifically to keep unfit job seekers off the payroll. And this doesn't do it. This also cripples the annual or the periodic evaluation of employee performance. So it really strikes a blow. It really puts the city behind the eight ball when it comes to managing their workforce. Okay. The gross mismanagement represented by this form and the dollar waste that goes with it could be controlled. But to control that cost, we need to bring back the Board of Civil Service Commissioners. That would help revive accountability. It would mean that rules would be enforced, and it would mean that it would encourage officials to adopt more modern personnel practices and enhance productivity. Long haul, that would save the people of Los Angeles a lot of money. Okay? I'll take your questions. If there are questions, I would. Yes?
Sam, this is 2008, and it seems like we have a lot of problems with the stock market, business, the economy, the ongoing wars that we have. Do you really feel that what you're talking about is meaningful enough for us to, do something about it?
Well, I think so, because you look at the total amount of money spent, a lot of that money comes from the people's pockets. People shouldn't worry just about the national crisis. They should be interested in the efficiency and governmental efficiency at all levels. And people have more opportunity to influence local government than they do what happens in Washington, D.C. So people who are thoughtful and who want to have efficient government that doesn't cost too much, they will probably turn first to local government. I think it is important. Unfortunately, the media doesn't pick up on that, and no one seems to talk about it. The fact is, Mayor Reardon did something illegal when he first came into office in 1993. He changed the charter without going to the electorate. No one raised a question. Do we allow mayors to change the charter at will? Do we think it's okay for mayors to follow the parts of the charter that they want to follow and to trample the other parts? We don't do that. That's not the American way. But we did it this time, and when Mayor Reardon left office and his successor adopted the Reardon paradigm, no one said a word. And now we have the third mayor doing the same thing. The current mayor, Villaraigosa, following that same new paradigm of deregulation and no oversight. Let the managers do it. It seems that we want managers who resemble Enron executives more than they resemble public servants. And that's what we're getting. And the people are paying for it. Somebody at some point needs to wake up and to say, this is serious. It must not go on. Yes, I think it's important.
Let me just ask then specifically, what if somebody lives in LA, what should they do? Should they call their councilman or what?
I'm glad you asked that question. I brought along a sheet with telephone numbers and mailing addresses for all the elected officials in city government. 15 council members, the mayor, the controller, and the city attorney. 18 elected officials. And I'd like you to take a copy of that list. And when you get home, call the mayor. First call the mayor. Then call your councilman and tell him that you've been to a news conference where some guy named Sperling said, you guys are running a very sloppy ship. You're wasting my money. I want some answers. That would be one way to do it. And I think if we had 1,000 people send letters in, I believe City Hall would change. The people there are pretty receptive. They're going to be running for election again, for re-election, many of them. The mayor will be running for re-election. And if they hear from the electorate, if they hear from the people, they can't ignore it. They have to respond. So I hope that you'll do that. Any other questions? Yes.
Yeah, just a question on that part of what the mayor did. How did he accomplish that without anybody challenging it? Do we have any people with spine to challenge that or what?
Well, it was really pretty simple. The mayor appoints the commissioners. And they knew what the charter said they're supposed to do, even before we got the new charter. There was a charter section, a section in the old charter called 114, number 114. And it told the commissioners what their duties were, spelled them out. Also in Charter 102. The commissioners appointed by Reardon knew those two provisions. But he prevailed upon them. He said, this is duplication of effort. Managers must manage their departments. They don't need a civil service commission snooping around, monitoring their personnel transactions, their appointments and their transfers and their disciplinary actions. So I'll do that. In the meantime, I have this nice, easy job for you. You handle complaints and grievances. And the commission had already been doing part of that, so now that becomes their full-time job. And so long as the commissioners were willing to put their loyalty to the mayor ahead of their duty to the people,